What's going on, guys? Salam and welcome to episode 75 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. It's been way too long. I'm your host, Matthew, with my co-host, Hussein.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to the patrons on the screen. And I don't know if you guys are noticing, but on the screen, there's some new patrons. Mm-hmm. So we appreciate y'all. Also, we got like $1,000 anonymous donation from a brother through a brother who we know. And I've been trying to blackmail the brother we know to tell us who gave the donation, and he was like, "Y'all could just send me a thank you video." So we're just gonna send a thank you here. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. You sent us more money than we've ever made from the podcast in its existence. Pretty sure. So
that's not true, but
$1,000. How much do you think we make in Patreon?
We've made $1,000. Over $1,000.
Okay, in 3 years.
Like a year, but yeah.
Bro gave us our year of income.
Yeah.
In one setting. He got it like that. So shout out to the brother who anonymously donated to us. We actually asked the fans what we're going to ask for suggestions on what to do with the funds. Mm-hmm. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get 2 cameras. So the camera that's pointed at Hussein, we're going to get one more like that, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but the camera that's on Hussein right now is higher quality than the one I have here. So if we get one more like this, and we're going to use the one that's currently aimed at me as a third camera, production is going to go crazy. You're going to have 3 camera angles, snapping back and forth. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. But Hussein, enough of me yapping.
I mean, just to give everyone some context, because I know there's some listeners who are like, "Where the podcast been? Where the podcast been?" Well, a lot happened. I guess the start of Muharram, right?
Right.
I was in Chicago for 10 days, so I wasn't available really. And then
hold on, in Chicago, Hussein and his sister / my wife, Salaha, they recorded some interesting, like some new style, like Nohas, basically, some lamentations, and it was posted to the Sacred Roots Instagram, and it went viral in the Shia world, right? Like has like over 50,000 views, right?
Yeah, it went a little Shia viral. There were like some scholars commenting on it,
right?
And stuff, yeah.
Even Hussein Mekki commented.
Yeah,
we gotta have Hussein Mekki on, bro. There's a connection, but. Literally, it was Salaha doing her poetry, and you were doing the reciting and the humming,
Yeah.
And people loved it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised, honestly, because it's like a traditional old black slave song, basically, that has been repurposed.
Right.
And so I don't know how many people got that aspect of it, but I was just surprised in general that people even enjoyed it. So yeah, it was interesting. But anyways, so that happened. I was in Chicago for 10 days at Sacred Roots. Shout out Sacred Roots. Really nice time. Really enjoyed the stay. And also, before we had left, our cameraman had also gone on a trip. Right. Like a month-long trip. So
Aussie had been out of town for a month,
and then we had tried to record, actually, to be honest with you.
No, we did record.
We tried. Yeah, we recorded.
Once.
I said tried because the final product was terrible. But we recorded without Aussie at one time, and literally, I was blurry. I was completely blurry for the entire 50 minutes. So then we were like, all right, let's just wait for Asia to get back.
Right.
Let's just wait for Asia to get back.
So what's the rush?
Yeah. And then Asia got back, and then we had some tragic news in the community that happened as well. One of our dear brothers, may Allah rest his soul, passed away very young. And so obviously that put a damper on everyone. And so, yeah, we just took some time away. But, inshallah, if you guys can all, recite the dua for the deceased, yeah, that'd be great.
We have all these things you mentioned are like all entire episodes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I could talk about Muharram. Wait, you could talk about Muharram. We can go into like culture and Nohas and how all that intersects and you and Salah doing making a new Shia American culture kind of mourning, expression of mourning. We could talk about maybe not specifically too much about the brother, but like we could talk about like the death and the community, like reflections of that. There's so much content, and then there's also like happenings in the world that are crazy. I don't even know where to start. Like there's just so much content. Like what's been happening outside the world, like geopolitics. First of all, geopolitics is actually like our most viewed content on this channel.
Is it?
Yeah, bro. Like our most viewed video is the clip of us talking about how the Arab nations are cowardly and don't help Palestine. There's like comments on that every single day, pretty much.
That's interesting.
People are like, "Oh, you're right." And yeah, it's crazy. You see, like Israelis are protesting for the right of IDF soldiers to grape, saying grape for censorship, to grape prisoners.
Just say assault.
To assault prisoners. To assault prisoners.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw a poll. Did you see that poll on national, Israeli television?
Yeah.
They asked the audience, do you think it's wrong
to do that,
to assault prisoners? And like, it was like
50
like 47% or something.
Something like that, yeah.
47%
said no.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
And that, I mean, this is dark news, but rest in peace the soul. That prisoner died of his wounds. So they assaulted someone to death, and they're like protesting for the right to do that. And what's even worse is that IDF soldier, one of them, who was like on trial, he has the gall to like show his face on video, and he's trying to ask for people to defend him. It's like, imagine you do something so heinous and disgusting, at least have the decency to want to like hide in a tunnel and like never be seen by the light of day. But to ask for support is like, this person has no repentance.
Well, he knows he's gonna get it. That's part of it, right? You only do that, like you only do those kind of things if you're kind of sure about how people feel about it.
Right.
47% of the population, or whoever voted in that poll, whether it's representative of the population or not, believes he was fine to do that. So that's why he feels okay. Have you seen interestingly, have you seen those videos of, so Israel called, like, basically, it's not a, like, maybe you call it a draft, but they basically like asked their male portion of their citizenship who were not already enlisted or whatever to come, that live in Israel, to join the military, to come and like defend whatever. And there are also riots about that because they're like, no, we don't want to.
You feel like,
and they'll say things like, there's like a video of this young Jewish kid in Israel, and he's like, national defense is your problem, dog. That's not mine. You're the one who wanted to create a state. Like, you defend this border.
He's saying that about the government.
Yeah. Interesting.
He's
stuff.
Israeli.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
That's really interesting.
But anyways, a lot of stuff happened while we were gone. Kamala Harris is now the current running, like she's running for the president.
Do you think Kamala Harris is going to win?
Joe Biden dropped out. I think she has a good chance. At first, I thought that, honestly, with Biden in the race, I thought Trump was cooking it.
He was.
I thought come November or whatever, like Trump was gonna destroy him. And I think the Republicans thought that too, because once Kamala stepped up, one, they started crying about a coup, which is like, that's not how that works. But anyways, two, Trump just started rage tweeting. Like he just started rage tweeting. Absolutely. And then all of this Kamala-ganda just starts popping up on my social media feeds. Right?
Yeah.
And so I was reading something, and they were saying that, like, basically the Biden administration had one dude running all of like the social media, and they barely invested anything into it. And then literally the day that Kamala becomes the candidate, she dumps millions of dollars into social media marketing,
right? and
expands the team by like 25, 30 people.
Yeah, and there's like Megan Thee Stallion's like promoting her, like all like the pop culture people are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, to be fair, I don't think it's unrealistic to say that the Democrats really wanted Kamala as their runner, and they strategically placed her as VP. because it would be too direct. Like, people probably would initially be like, oh, no, she's not president material, right? But she's VP material. But Joe Biden's health was declining at such a rate where secretly, I think it kind of makes sense where all along they're like, no, this is our up and runner.
All along meaning how long? I think
they probably
had.
When she became VP.
No, I don't think so. I think they probably had an idea of,
right, in
like the last year as far as where Biden's health was.
Right.
Like Nancy Pelosi has like gone on a tour basically talking about what she thought about Biden. And the reason it's very interesting strategically. But probably like for the last year they were concerned about it. I think that's reasonable to believe, because when he first came in, like he was pretty lucid. If you look at interviews just from 4 years ago, he's kind of spitting. like he's talking the talk
compared to now. Yeah,
he's talking the talk.
Yeah, it happens to every president. I don't know. I mean, I know we make jokes about being like president is not doing anything, but they're doing something that impacts their health. I don't know what it is, but you see, like, it just takes off. Yeah,
I mean, he was talking the talk, and then like he deteriorated pretty significantly towards the end. So probably for the last year they had been keeping an eye on it. I can believe that. For the last year they had kind of been keeping an eye on it, and then Nancy Pelosi's going around like, yeah, I was always concerned. So I was basically campaigning for this like in the background the entire time. And the reason she's doing that is because it takes the heat off of Kamala, because some narratives are like, oh, Kamala was like laying in wait basically, and she was laying in wait, waiting for Biden to drop out cooking. I mean, and Nancy Pelosi's
nothing wrong with that.
Nancy Pelosi's kind of like, yeah, but it's like a negative talking point or whatever. Right. And so Nancy Pelosi strategically is like taking the brunt of all of that, right?
Democrats, they're so I think they're in their bag this one.
So yeah,
they're in their bag.
And then she announced her vice presidential pick, Tim Walz, who's the governor of Minnesota. And
I'll get that Muslim vote.
I mean, he's been doing a lot. I mean, I know there's like all these pictures of like once he got announced, all the
the drag.
So I think it's so interesting because I don't really understand the pro-Palestinian left, because like, okay, let me not speak so broadly. The pro-Palestinian left that is very loud on Twitter, I don't understand because the whole time when she was debating between, it was like Berkshire, Walz, and that dude who talks like Obama, Shapiro. Shapiro. And like those were like basically the names that were floating out for the vice presidential pick. And this whole like all of Palestinian left Twitter is talking about like, oh my God, if she doesn't pick Walz, like just screw it all. Like if she doesn't pick Walz, and then she picks Walz, and then they're like, bro, he is Zionist too. And I'm like, did you not know about this before you were campaigning for Kamala to pick him?
I don't understand, like, just for the record of anyone, all of us pro-Palestine out here, pretty much 99% of all U.S. politicians are bought by AIPAC. There's no non-Zionist, really. Like maybe Bernie Sanders, and he can afford that because he's Jewish. Like he's literally using his Jewish privilege. Yeah. He can get away with it.
Basically.
Like if you're not Jewish, you got to be a Zionist, pretty much.
But Tim Walz has done good stuff in Minnesota. He started like the statewide free lunch program, and stuff like small stuff like that. So like he's been pretty good on housing as well.
The part where I think people are saying is strategic, like the Democrats, one other aspect why it could be strategic is also because a lot of people just don't want to see Trump, and I think waiting a bit to put Kamala in was building that urgency for voters. Like, oh my God, is it really just Trump? It's really just Trump. What are the Democrats doing?
Is there any other option?
And then like waiting for us to get that point of desperation, like Kamala Harris, like the sun shining behind her, like I'm a woman, I'm black. Let's get all these young people to vote for me.
She was like a sleeper as far as like her political savviness.
Yeah,
she was definitely a sleeper.
You think it fell out of a coconut tree?
You think it just fell out of a
coconut tree? It exists in the
context. What can be unburdened? What was it?
By what was.
By what was. But anyways, she was kind of sleeper as far as like her political savviness, because no one really. I don't think she won a primary. I don't think she didn't have she had been in it, but she didn't have like a lot of resume experience, basically. Mm-hmm. Then she was given the VP selection, and everyone was like, okay, that makes sense. She's good for the minority voters, and she doesn't really rock the boat. So, like, it's a good pick. And then she gets into this spot, and it's... I mean, you can have whatever opinions you want about her. I'm not the biggest fan of her, but as far as, like, the average American, or at least the average American that we, like, the urban or relatively urban American, is like, she's cooking.
I think Kamala's gonna win.
She's cooking.
I think it's likely. Trump really hasn't been cooking lately.
He hasn't. And I also
he's been sounding like.
I think he's there's been reporting that he's like, since the shooting, he's been like really nervous.
He doesn't. Yeah, he seems a bit different.
Yeah.
I think after the shooting,
like really nervous to go out places.
Right after the shooting, he handled like a champ.
Yeah.
He was like.
But I thought that picture
that happened too.
I thought that picture. Yeah, I know, right?
Like so much.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I thought that picture of him like
went crazy.
I thought that would go way harder than it did, right?
Yeah.
So that to me, that's signaling like, okay, these guys aren't on their game. Either he doesn't like seeing it and he's like, yo, don't spread this around, or
you think he got shook up.
Shook up. I mean, that's a possibility. There has been some reporting to that effect.
I mean, that's probably the most difficult thing that's ever happened to him. And not to say that's not like being shot at is probably no walk in the park.
That's pretty difficult.
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I think if a guy like Trump has had like no hardship in life.
No, but that's, I mean,
and then he went through something that's like,
but
pretty
even a
jarring.
regular dude, bro, like even us.
That's what I'm saying.
It was on his ear, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
so like if you take someone who's like even
a little bit more, you know,
if you take someone who's had like a really easy life and go through that, it's already traumatic.
Also, that shooter was atrocious.
He was a kid.
Atrocious.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with a shooter. Don't give me conspiracy theory like rabbit holes, because.
So the only thing I know where you're gonna go,
but he's a kid.
I know where you're gonna go,
which is so sad
about like the conspiracy behind this basically being a move to increase Trump's popularity, but it hasn't. So that's the only thing that I'm like,
hey, they could calculate that. Doesn't mean it's gonna work. They can make a calculation. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they didn't expect Trump to like be so shook up by it.
No, I mean,
but also,
I don't believe the conspiracy. I don't believe it.
Why would you even potentially like play with the life of your presidential candidate?
Yeah.
Especially putting it into the hands of not some like military well-trained sniper, right?
Yeah.
Just some random kid.
A military trained sniper.
And so like for the military, I was listening to this one guy. He actually doesn't do political commentating at all. He's like an MMA podcast, but he served in the Marines. And he was like, the requirements for you to be a sniper, or you have to hit from this many yards, this many yards, this many yards with no scope, right? And he was like within the first, like the very easiest one that they have to qualify for. He was closer than that.
Well, do you know what's crazy? Do you know what's really crazy then? There's a really serious possibility he could have died. If that was anyone else, Trump.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
No, literally, yeah.
That makes you think like his security sucks then, because like he was that close. They didn't scope it out. Like scope it out better. Because I remember there's like Snapchat story videos. There's like videos of people on their phones like screaming.
There's someone up there.
There's someone laying prone on a roof looking through a gun, bro. Like, hello. He got off round still.
Yeah.
I also think the popularity didn't increase because I think a lot of people actually wouldn't have been upset of a hit.
That's wild.
What? That I said that? Or that people feel that way?
That people feel
People
that way.
are talking about that openly like, oh, damn it. Come on, bro. And like, that's not a good thing, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of... it's like sad for like the states, right? Violence is just, we're so desensitized, bro. School shootings don't even get like news anymore. You gotta hit like a 20 plus kill count or something for it to be brought up. School shootings used to be like
this, but yeah, you're right.
No, school shootings used to be like, bro, a kid came into a school with a gun. Like, oh my news. And it's like every day. And then it's like, all right, we're gonna report it if he hits like a certain amount of students. It's like, it's crazy, but like I'm pretty sure like on average every day there's a school shooting.
Really?
In America. Jamie, can you look that up? Honestly, Actually, can you look that up? Average school shootings in America. With that, it's time for a quick break and remind you guys to check out our Patreon. Alhamdulillah, we're making almost $100 a month off Patreon, and I know this doesn't seem like a big number, but the more patrons we can hit, the more we can put into this podcast. The future for this podcast is, inshallah, we have our own studio space, and we would love to do that. So if you could just support this podcast by checking our patreon.com, the link is below. Go to patreon.com/thoughtful banter. We have tiers. One of them is just that you get your name on the credits at the beginning of episodes, but if you actually look at our higher level tier, you get specific content that's only ever going to be uploaded on Patreon. So make sure you check out our Patreon page and support the podcast. And additionally, a free way you can support the podcast is for you to share an episode, comment down your thoughts, like it, subscribe, and keep watching. So in other world news, Israel assassinated the Hamas leader who was stationed in Iran, and which is a war crime, which is like a crime, like a crime against, like a UN crime, whatever, international law crime. Like they blew this guy's house up. Like Israel cares about laws at this point. They just do whatever they want to do because they're bullies. But they killed the guy who was leading negotiations. Yeah. So Israel comes to America is like, no, we want to negotiate. We want to negotiate. They tell the news we want to negotiate. And they kill the guy they're negotiating with.
Apparently, they had been making pretty decent progress on it too. And then
who, Israel and Palestine,
U.S., Israel, like every party's involved on this ceasefire or maybe extended peace treaty.
It's all a ploy. They have no intention of ceasefire.
And so, I actually agree with you for once on this subject. I actually agree with you. And the play is, we kill this guy, then we like expedite our talks and like we come up with a resolution that like everyone's on board with, right? Or maybe like a couple people aren't on board with, but U.S. and Israel are on board with it. And so we're like, yes, we have this proposal. Everyone's ready to sign it, whatever. The news comes out. You break the news, even if it's not true. You break the news, and then Iran chooses to retaliate. And they're like, see, they don't want it.
Right.
Like, we've been working all this time. And it's them who don't want the ceasefire. Right. So, I mean, actually, I agree with you.
Right. It's like, and no matter, like, listen, like, I'm going to pretend I'm impartial here for a second. I'm not impartial.
I'm going to pretend I'm impartial.
But to be very, like, I'm just going to be honest. We're not impartial. You guys, if you listen to the podcast, but let's pretend I'm impartial, right? For just anyone new listening. If Israel really wanted to have sincere peace and progress with the Palestinians, then why would they kill the person who they're negotiating with? That's simple. They don't want peace. Like, and this is part of the problem with the Palestine discussion. They're like, I guess the people, a lot of the people who are pro-Palestine, but talk about a two-party state and talk about
two-state solution.
A lot of people are pro-Palestinian who talk about a two-state solution and talk about democracy and peace and whatnot. They come from the right place, and they're thinking in a world where people can make sense. But Israel keeps doing the stuff that shows Israel doesn't have any intention of ever coming to that kind of solution. So
what's the alternative, though? Is there a better alternative?
It's good.
Because I know what you're going to say, but that's also not working. That hasn't worked.
That's not necessarily what I was going to say. I think an actual solution,
like I think a one-state solution, is just as far-fetched and ludicrous as whatever you're saying for a two-state solution. Like, the Israelis are never going to let that happen.
This is the problem. The Israelis are literally only supported by the U.S.
Yes.
They historically they're not good fighters. Mm-hmm. They can't do jack anything without Big Daddy USA,
basically,
Uncle Sam. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
we need to find a way to completely shut down and stop the pipeline of funds and aid U.S. is providing Israel.
Okay, how to?
I don't know. I mean, that's what we're doing with the boycott and stuff. That's why like we have people here protesting and pushing our politicians here.
Boycotting is not doing.
Boycotting is doing something.
No, not really.
What do you mean?
It's not. All this stuff that's coming out. Oh, Starbucks CEO steps down because of boycotts and plummeting sales. That's not why he was fired. It has nothing to do with the boycott. So? every like this market is just bad. There are plenty of people who have nothing to do with the boycott and also sales are plummeting. Walgreens stores are closing all over the place. Even Giant, all these big grocers are like downsizing their spaces. This is not a boycott specific thing. People like to think that the boycotts are actually doing something because it makes them feel good. They're not doing anything.
You just destroyed my morale. Thank you.
They're not doing it.
I guess I'll kill myself.
They're really and like, oh my God, stock price dipped because of boycotts. No, it didn't. It's not because of boycotts.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm so upset then. Well then, we're going.
And it'll be like a dip for like 5 seconds, and then it'll go just shoot straight back up. It's like, yay! Like we have to be real if we're gonna have like
right.
If you're gonna have any,
it just sucks
any
to
kind
hear.
of like sustained. I'm not saying don't boycott.
Right.
There may be other reasons to boycott outside, and there are other reasons to boycott outside of whatever material effect you're having on these companies that you're trying to target. Obviously, the goal is like a big part of boycotting is the monetary aspect. But if you can't affect that, I think there's still a moral, ethical reason to do some of these things.
Right. I'm gonna try something.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a prick against the enemy, it's better than nothing.
Agreed.
Right.
But also
But you're
don't
saying
delude yourself.
It's not.
Don't delude yourself that this thing is super uber effective and is doing this, and this when it's really not. Because then you're giving yourself an idea, like a picture of something. Because then the question is like, okay, well, if we're really hitting these companies that hard, and money is the ultimate, like game changer in America, why hasn't it stopped? It's easy. It's also easy. Like the flip side is also easy to lose hope in.
Yeah.
And so I like this peddling of information that's like, oh yes, Starbucks CEO steps down. No, Starbucks CEO got fired because he is on record in an interview saying, I never work past 6 p.m. That's why he got fired.
Good for him.
That's why he got fired.
You really said that?
Yeah.
That's crazy for a CEO, isn't it?
The CEO
he
of a $1 billion company.
He want to work?
Talking about, I never work past 6 p.m. That's why he got fired. Yes, sales were plummeting as well. This is way more market related. And not like, of course, boycotts affect the market too. But it's market driven as far as like just the state of the world right now. Not necessarily from these boycotts. More than anything. Because again, there are like all these grocers and all these people who are not even being affected by the boycott that are still losing business. So just don't be delusional. That's all I'm saying. Keep boycotting. Keep boycotting.
Fair.
Don't be delusional.
Well, I guess like we understand what needs to happen. We just don't know how it's done in a legal way. Basically, it's like what do people do? Like, I'm not condoning riots. The states that's not good, but like essentially, if America stops its aid to Israel, Israel's going to have to actually talk peace real soon.
Yeah, of course.
They just have like Lebanon and Iran right there.
We've seen Israel capitulate to America. Capitulate? Anyways, we've seen Israel capitulate is the word, right? Jamie, look that up.
I haven't heard that.
CAPITULATE, I believe.
Capitulate is an agreement in time of war for the surrender to a hostile armed force for a particular body of troops, a town, or territory.
Okay, so I know it has application outside of war, but it sounds like the right word. We've seen Israel bend the knee, basically, when America has said, hey,
quiet down there, boy.
Relax. We've literally seen them do it. We've seen, even Biden say, stop expanding your settlements. Or we're going to, the money's going to stop flowing. And they've stopped. So, like, we've seen them exercise this power. So I agree with you, basically.
Well, but like, there's our politicians here are so entrenched with Zionism that even if Biden said, like, there's just so much money going there that it doesn't matter even if Biden said, like the Israelis have no, even if they say anything, they have no intention of ever stopping. Their game plan is just like, we'll stop for now, but we're just preparing to expand and blow more. It's like,
I agree with you. But I'm saying, like, we've seen them respond to the threat.
They respond to authority, to threat,
basically.
But the problem is just like, the problem in our Israel and U.S. relations is like, for some reason the relationship is completely reversed. We bend to Israel. Like, how are we bending to this smaller country that the U.S. invented and funded? Like, you should be bending to daddy.
Do we bend to Israel?
It seems like it. They're like,
I know people say that.
More money.
It's like a popular.
But Israel's like a tiny country. Like,
yeah, but America has an interest in keeping that country like there.
Right.
It's like, so like when people are like, oh, run by Israel. I'm like, no, we haven't. America has an interest.
It's more like, we're Israel.
Basically, like think of Israel more of like Puerto Rico than like its own independent.
It's 51
basically, it's like more like Puerto Rico than its freaking own independent country.
So the only way to end the apartheid is it's to end America, pretty much.
Because America's like, okay, we want something that they've been in the Middle East region for how long?
Yeah.
And have tried state building in other countries. Afghanistan, they tried state building.
Failed hard. Taliban.
Right?
Taliban gang.
Iraq, they tried state building. Like,
yeah,
they've tried everywhere. They've tried to get in this region,
right,
and have influence in this region. The only place where they actually have it is here. Why would they let go of that?
Yeah, but there is an idea of like too much media, social, like activist pressure too, like Vietnam as well, where it's like, if enough of the young generation is mobilized and like, dude, screw this, there is like a losing of the morale, I think, with, and like we're seeing that here.
No, yeah, I mean the tide is. I mean, people complain like, "Oh, nothing's happening." I've never seen this.
Yeah,
I haven't been alive that long, admittedly.
Yeah, but in our 25 years,
yeah,
I've never seen the U.S. population be so openly pro-Palestine.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even people who don't care about Palestine are like, why the heck are we sponsoring Israel? So it's either we care about Palestinians, or it's like, we don't care about Palestinians, but we don't want Israelis getting our money. Like, we need money here.
Yeah. Now because it's so baked into like, I don't know, maybe not go on my rant, but I'm gonna go on my rant.
Go on your rant. Cook King.
Only thing,
Spit King.
The only thing that U.S. politics respects is economic power.
Power, period. But yeah, right.
Especially if it's green.
Dollar bills are God, huh?
Yeah.
Under dollar bill we trust.
If it's green, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so, I think before we try to gain any like significant political power, before we start, I'm not saying. I guess what I'm saying is like, don't suspend those things, but I think the priority should be consolidation of our wealth. And not only consolidation of our wealth, but also building of economic institutions that are alternative to whatever else is out there. So, for example, I'll give you an example of what some Jews did. Way back in the day, I was told this story by a buddy of mine, Harvard law student. He said back in the day, all these Jewish lawyers were graduating from Harvard. But none of the law firms in the area would none of the law firms would hire you if you weren't Protestant. Right? So all the big law, corporate law firms, if you weren't Protestant, you weren't getting a job. So Catholic, if you were Roman Catholic or Jewish, you just weren't getting hired. Even if you're graduating from like the top law schools. The top law schools in the area. And so what these guys did is they said, hey, all right, we're not getting jobs. Let's just focus on this like small area of law called mergers and acquisitions. And what we're going to do is we're going to make connection with all these business owners in the area. And we're just going to do mergers and acquisition law. And they did that. And they started getting connected with everyone. And then not only does the field of mergers and acquisitions in the law explode, they're on the top of it. And they're rolling in money because they know everyone. That's an implementable model. They said, hey, they're providing those services. Let's do our own thing here and make it big. And that's what happened. They built an alternative.
You done with your point?
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt it. That's a great point. My only response to it is, we already have Muslims who dominate sectors.
Muslims dominating what sector?
Like medicine, like.
Okay, but who are they working for?
Okay, so
that's what I mean.
So it's like
I'm going further than that, bro.
We dominate fields in the sense of like, I don't know, man. Like, if you look at Maryland, how many freaking Persians are doctors? Like, it's probably like a good percent, good chunk, or dentists. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like how many in like IT? How many brown dudes are in IT? Right? So it's like, but the problem is we don't have that drive to build and work for ourselves only.
Because it's
why is
scary
that?
and difficult.
You think? Do you think it's part of it, like wanting to be accepted in the West? And
well,
like,
some of it is that. I think that's probably a big part.
We don't want to build our own institutions. We just want that bread, right?
I don't even necessarily think people don't want to build their own institutions. I just think because like a lot of these high achieving, like if you're a freaking top engineer at Meta, software engineer at Meta, chances are you're already someone who has at least thought of the idea of building something else. Right? It's either you're not like that, you don't have those ambitions, or you're extremely comfortable and don't want to risk anything else. Those are like really the only two options. I have a feeling, because it takes so much ambition just to get to that position, I have a feeling that it's not like a lack of ambition thing. It's just I'm extremely why would I do anything else? I'm extremely happy and comfortable.
We do. There is like this cheapness in like we see with Muslims.
But what I was saying is like it's hard. One, it's hard. You're going up. You're paddling upstream, right? Like it's hard. It's uncertain.
That risk aversion,
and it's difficult. And like we all the reality is, even in our communities, we don't really have the institutions to set up to support people who are undergoing this project. So maybe it takes those people who are working their high paying jobs to support these people who want to move this forward, right? Maybe that's what it's going to take, but we don't have those. Even within our own communities, we don't have those kind of like structures and like fallbacks, so that someone who's working on this project, who has a wife and 3 kids, right, can still afford to live and provide for his family.
It's like I remember I was watching Alex Hormozy one time, and this one guy was like, I'm a wantrepreneur. Alex Hormozy coined this term. I'm a want to be entrepreneur. I'm a wantrepreneur. So I haven't made any money on myself. I want to. And he's just basically spitballing ideas like, I don't know what I want to start, but I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't know how. But I also can't take the risk really right now. And Alex just asked the guy how much he was making. And the guy told him, and he was like, like to actually be an entrepreneur, like it's okay to take time to save up money to have the risk tolerance. Because if he's like, sounds like from what you're making, to be honest, you don't have the risk tolerance. And if you have a family, know, so it's like you're saying, right? Like I think especially if you want to build a business, like you should have like a year emergency fund. Like if I want to go all into a business, I have to quit my 9 to 5. Like you got to have housing and all these things taken care of.
Even more than that, you should have a system that you can fall back on.
If this doesn't work, get a job. Or
No. Well, maybe it's that. Maybe it's like, okay, if this doesn't work, then I have at least this uncle in the community that I know that needs this person. And he told me like I have.
Like I always got a place to work type beat.
Either that, or even be like, you know, the same way you go to your family, like, hey, I'm right on like the brink of this thing. I can show you this, show you that. Give you the proof that this is working. Mm-hmm. It just needs a little bit more push. I've run out my 12 months. I need like 6 more months of expenses paid for.
I need 20 grand, bro. Yeah, I need 20.
But people go to their families for this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
It's just like there's no like, okay, if the family doesn't have it, then what do you do? It's like, oh, I guess I gotta go back to.
So we're just lacking like institutions of connection like that, right? And like cohesion. It was crazy because we have so many rich people.
So there.
And Hoja's done this.
I was gonna say,
and this is my beef with Hojas we were talking about. I was thinking about this the whole time. Like, no, there's some Muslims who've done this with Hojas, but what? On the Hoja connection, they was talking about, Hojas, we build different. Show us. Give us some of the keys, auntie, uncle. Please. I will be your beta. Just show me the keys, bro. Jaldi. I need you to hurry and give me these keys. With all love and respect. I love the Hoja community. We got respect for Hojas.
No, but to your point, they're doing / have done this stuff.
Right. They have an international institute for the race, bro. I think they have institutions. Can y'all help a brother out?
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead. But anyways, and so my point was it's going to take time, of course. Right. It's going to take 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. Sorry. But really, I don't think we have a chance of changing anything until we prove ourselves to be formidable opponents.
Dumb and hard. Because they only respect monetary gain. To be fair, though, like when we're talking about like this thing with Israel and Palestine, like one of the disadvantages we have, I don't want to say this disadvantage, but it's like a disadvantage and a tactical one is like if your oppressor has an understanding because like it's all religion connected. Mm-hmm. If two groups of people are at war and they're of different religions, and one person's religion says, Muslims, if our religion says, in time of war, you still need to respect civilian life, you can't break these moral codes, etc., etc. And the other person's religious code is, in time of war, everything is okay, including the assaulting of prisoners. It's like your opponent is like deranged, yeah. To be completely honest. So it's like
it's not equal.
It's not equal playing ground. So like I think like sometimes to an extent we're all a little hard on like the Muslims, right? Even us, we're like, oh, we gotta be better. It's also like this dunya is not for us. You know what I'm saying? Like we're listening to it. We're trying to listen to the laws of God. And like
doing the best we can.
In
those kind of
right. And your opponent's like, there's no cheating. Mm-hmm. I'll throw dust in your face. I'll find where your kids live and kill your family. So you're crying. You can't even fight right because you're like distraught. Like you see like how like we already covered this like months ago when like all of these reporters are going to Palestine. They were looking at the reporters there and they were using like facial recognition, looking at their names, and they found out where their families lived and they were bombing their houses, right? And then they do the same to like people in a different country in Lebanon. Mm. They just want all the smoke.
Well, that's because they know, daddy
USA.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It is, but no, you're right. I think that's a good point. That's a good point.
Like we're not gonna win this in that sense of like the dunya, and I'm not saying like, inshallah we win, but if we win, it's not gonna be by their rules. Like we're not gonna stoop down and start killing civilians or like start doing these crazy stuff where it's like, oh, for the Muslims to like you said, be formidable opponents, right? Like we're not gonna start our own like business that's very lucrative, that's earning a bunch of money, but it's haram money and it's interest based.
No, yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. I wasn't suggesting.
And I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying, but to be fair, it's like we will do our best to do like the halal way, but it's important because like I think we get caught up in the dunya.
When I say alternative, right? That what I actually meant was that being a part of it was like a whole different ethos going into the way we conduct even our companies. Right?
Fair.
That's what I meant.
But for people listening, sometimes they're like, you see it because people like, it comes from a good place, I think. But we come from like, we got to compete. And we start blurring the lines. Like you see Muslims in business. I mean, to be fair, how many Muslims have you seen have terrible business practice? You're well aware of this. People who are like Shia are like, oh yeah, I'm Muslim, I'm this and that. You think like this guy's like, right, I expect, and like they're not doing the bare minimum of like good business practice. Like, let me pay someone on time. Let me give someone what they're due. And instead, they're just like, are we Muslim? It's like they lost sight. Yeah, obviously.
I'm talking about like not playing by the rules of the game. I'm saying change the game.
SubhanAllah.
Like we're playing a different game.
SubhanAllah.
That's what I mean. And become formidable in that game so much to the point where other people have to be like, hey, I want to play that game too.
Yeah. Oh, you want to play our game? All right, here are the rules.
Here are the rules.
You want to play by them.
Exactly.
Because you're playing our game now.
Exactly. Because even if you talk about organizing political power, the two-party system is so like ossified and like calcified in the way that this country is run. Third-party candidates aren't even viable.
They're not, and they should be. We have third-party candidates for a reason. But
I mean, Jill Stein just announced her running mate.
Good luck. You're not going to win.
Which,
sorry,
I mean, you're right.
It sucks. I respect the hustle.
Exactly.
Like someone like Jill Stein. I mean, I don't know much about her, but like she does great work. She speaks the truth oftentimes. She should be able to get a running chance. How come Donald Trump is even in discussion next to someone like Jill Stein, who spent her entire life serving the public? So something I thought would be funny to talk about was Muta, right? Because I hear like a lot of people online talk about, and just in like Sunnis, like one of the biggest talking things about Shias are like, these guys love Muta. Muta's haram. Well, first of all, I'm like,
have you heard, like they always call like, I don't know if you're in these Instagram comments, like, I bet you're a son of a Muta. Son of a Muta. Like they say stuff like that all the time.
This godly of a bastard in their mind, right?
Basically.
Which we don't believe a child in a Muta is a child, like a valid, law, because a Muta is a marriage. So people are like, okay, how's Muta just a marriage? Just say a couple words. Have you been to a nikah?
No. Don't even. Not even nikah. Have you been to a courtroom?
Have you been to a courtroom?
Have you been to a courthouse?
Have you been to a courthouse?
To seeing people get married? What do you think it is they do?
What are they saying? What is anything Islamically? You can draw that line like, oh, a Muta is a marriage is just a couple words. Okay. What's salat? So how come what if and you, like, so how come you don't just make your intention? Like, and then you see people who do this, right? You see people who are like just spiritual, like, I pray to God all the time.
No,
like,
yeah, there's
DJ Khaled's like, do you make salat? I'm always praying. I'm praying right now. No, you're not DJ Khaled.
There's some sects of Islam that say like you can reach such a point, like such a level where you don't need to pray. Like you don't need to do like the actions of prayer, because the actions are just to kind of like get this, inculcate whatever this feeling or spirituality in you. And so once you like ascend the need for that, you don't have to do it.
And obviously, we don't believe in that.
No, we don't. But I'm saying, like, to your point.
Yeah, there's just like these, in our humble opinion, like kind of rubbish ideas. And I think the whole, like 99% of the ummah would agree, like, no, we make salat. The Prophet prayed. We pray. We're not better than the Prophet, right? You can also be God conscious and ponder. That's not your salat. The point is like this fixation on like, oh, only saying a couple words makes it a marriage. It's like, that's so much in life. Even legal documents, even contracts are just written down evidence of these words being agreed upon, as said, like of intentions, right? So why is it so crazy for a muta to be a marriage? A nikah is words.
It literally is. So it's actually the sigha, or what they call the formula, is almost the exact same. The only difference with the muta is that this specifies the time. Like, it specifies that it's like a limited period of time that's whatever is agreed upon before. But it's literally the exact same, like word for word, bar for bar. You're saying almost the exact same thing. You're just adding a little bit of an addition here.
Right. And it's also like, why? And then they focus on it, but like logically explain to me why that's crazy. Like, oh, marriage is always supposed to be permanent. We don't. And I know the end of a muta isn't a divorce, but I'm just saying, let's say it was. divorce is halal. We're not believing like some schools of like Christians. Like for a long time in Christianity, it was like you're not allowed to get divorced. Period. I think pretty sure like that Christian fatwa was made for like a king who like really was trying to get rid of his wife, and he was like, bro, he was talking to like the priest, like, change this. Like this ain't right. They're like, okay, this don't make sense. Funny. Like, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, it's like, so like we run into these problems where people are like, oh, why is it? So like if I have a girlfriend and I say some words, why is that so different? Why is that such a big deal? I'm like, if the words aren't a big deal, then why not just say the words? So anyways, that was just my little rant. If I go to my doctor, right? I go to my doctor because I've already accepted the logic of the medical institution. I've accepted the fact that I don't have the tools to heal my own wound. So I go there, I accepted 1 and 2. Okay. I wait in the waiting room. Okay. I'm accepting the system of this building that I'm in. Okay. Nurse sees me first, gets my blood pressure, tells me I'm overweight, tell her I'm working on it. Same old. Okay. I accept 3. Okay. Doctor comes in and he prescribes me a drug. And I'm like, how are you going to prescribe me a drug? Drugs don't work.
What's the difference between me taking this and me just eating something I like?
Yeah. So doctor, I don't need penicillin. I need sleep. It's like, you follow 1, 2, 3, 4, but not 5.
Yeah. And the doctor example is a little bit different because like obviously the doctor is like a human being that's fallible.
Right.
But the point still stands.
Yeah,
like
there's room for error with actual doctors.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, what if I'm just like, no, I went to a doctor, then I'm like, no, I don't want any drugs. Well, it's like, but you have accepted that in medical institutions, like we're taught which drugs to give people. Mm-hmm. Like if you wanted some herbal medicine, go to like a hippie.
Why do you even come to us?
Why'd you come to us? Mm-hmm. But you accepted that, oh, I want a doctor. I gave you doctor treatment. And you didn't want what I gave you? But you accepted medicine. Right?
Yeah, it's so that's all I had to say. I think it gets people start getting ridiculous. Oh, why do I have to do this? Bro, I don't know. And no one is gonna tell, like, there are, okay, like, oh, it has these benefits, whatever. Yeah. Okay, sure. That's not, we don't know the reason behind why we do this thing, which is also a reason why we say, at least for Shias, our Sunni brothers have a different perspective, but for Shias, we say we can't do qiyas or analogy in comparing rulings to each other, right? You can't say, oh, because I can bet on myself as a horseman in a race, therefore I should be able to bet on myself in basketball, right? Now, there may be a way that can be done through like if a scholar does ijtihad and comes to some kind of conclusion that, hey, actually this is legal based on these things. Right. That's different.
But not on the analogy.
But not on the analogy. Because you don't know the reason why betting on yourself as a horseman in a race is actually permitted.
Because we don't know the metaphysical
you just know that it's permitted. That's all, like, you know.
And I said this before, right? We were talking like, and this sounds goofy, but like, we don't know. For all we know, it could be for a very goofy to us reason. Like, what if Allah just is pleased with horses? And he's like, something in this interaction with riding a horse and you racing, I'm pleased with it. Like this is good. There's barakah in it. We don't even know the barakah. Maybe it's like two, like bro, it's so crazy. Like we suspend our belief when we see like Doctor Strange, and we see like hidden world, unseen. Like Doctor Strange looking at you right now, and he's like, oh, it does, like, or like in JJK when Nanami's at the bakery and that baker's shoulder hurts and he does like this. Mm-hmm. He saw a monster. Yeah. We don't see a monster. Like, but as Muslims, we believe in the unseen. Mm-hmm. And then we believe in, but like, sorry, we ain't lost. The point is, it's okay to have questions. It's very okay to have questions. It's not okay to break logical chains. So if you have questions, go through the chain first. Don't skip steps. If you believe in God, okay, then you believe in oneness of God, okay, then you believe in the messengers of God, okay, then you believe in the last messenger of God, the seal of Prophet Muhammad, okay. And then if you're Shia, I mean, you don't have to be Shia, you believe in the Prophet saying, I left you two weighty things, the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt. Okay. Add on. Okay. You go through the steps. So sorry. You go through the steps of logic that allow you to get to the point where we believe in the things we believe now. I don't follow all those steps, and then in the middle of my Isha Salat, you'd be like, you know what? Why can't I just pray on 1 rakat Isha? My intention is this is a Isha 1 rakat. Allah knows my intentions. God is all good. God sees everything. Why do I need to pray 4 rakat? Why 4? Isn't 1 better than 4? I put all my quality into 1 rakat salah. I did it Allahu Akbar. Why not just 1 rakat?
Yeah, I mean, this is something it leads to, right?
It's like, because you have no idea what you're doing. It's like, shut up and listen.
Literally.
It's like, but why? I don't know. When you die, ask God. I'm sure you can ask whatever you want. Maybe you're right, but it's like, but I'm sure you're going to be rewarded for going about things the right way instead of breaking logical chains.
No, exactly.
Come on, bro.
So the moral of the story: check your ego, check your arrogance. And again, if you're not there, that's something different. But if you're there at that final point, the thing that it just becomes super duper ridiculous for you to even worry about some of these things to the point that you're worried about them. And honestly, all of this, we like to convince ourselves that we have some ulterior, higher motive. But honestly, all of this is, most of it is laziness. Trying to find an easier way to do
shaitan. Or waswaswa.
But trying to find an easier way to do so. 4 rakats, it's kind of hard.
Right.
I put everything into 1.
Right.
That's better.
Right.
And then we convince ourselves oh no, this is a more spiritual experience. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's like an ego and laziness and
what's the difference between me having a girlfriend and me just saying some words? There's not really that much of a difference. Okay, I'll just have a girlfriend because I don't have to have the uncomfortable conversation with some random Western girl from the West that says, "Hey, I actually have to marry you for this X amount of time, and you have these rights on me." And now, that's an uncomfortable conversation. So instead of having that, I'm just gonna be like, what's really the difference? Okay,
it's just love. It's a relationship.
It's just love. Isn't that all a relationship is?
And hold on, you spitting king. Let me say this. People say, I've heard guys say, I have a girlfriend, right? Or what if, I've heard brothers say, what if I have a girlfriend? How different is it than a multa? Our intentions that we love each other, our intentions that we're committed to one another. I'm like, then talk to your Christian girlfriend and tell her to be your wife, your temporary wife at least. You know why you don't want to? Because despite you trying to minimize what a multa is, despite you trying to minimize that as just words, trust me, it's hard to try to actually get a Western girl to say, I agree to being your temporary wife. Because there's meaning behind your words. It's not just anything. There's actual meaning behind words. You can't take that away from humanity. You can't take it away. It's that simple? Then get her to say it. I will say it with you. Say it. Say it. Say it.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Why is it hard? Because she has to understand
XYZ.
When it's actually going right, when you're doing a halal way, not saying, see this Arabic, I just that's something for me. No, if you get her to say the English, I agree,
Well, some people say you have to say the Arabic, but anyways, she has an understanding of it.
She has to understand what she's getting into. This isn't just a Tinder date no more. This is I'm in something special. Even as temporary, I'm in something. Do you have the gall to do it? Are you man enough? Are you man enough seriously to actually be genuine and be real and be in some kind of commitment, even temporary, brother? If you're scared of temporary commitment, what you gonna get done? We don't even talk about marriage, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that's all I have to say on it.
Yeah, let's get a yap session.
It was.
Royalty Kenkai. Infinite Yapper. This has been episode 75 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. We hope you guys enjoy. This is a lot of clips from this. So you guys are going to be seeing some more uploads, some new uploads. Make sure to support us on all platforms. And until coming forward, we're gonna have some more guests soon.
We out. Peace.
Salam.